All right. Do we have sound? Check, check, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Baby boy, you better check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself. Hello, boys and girls, it's fishy time. Time to get on here and just rewind. Let's talk about some mushrooms and plants, and we'll talk about ecology and all the new science. Hey guys, it's now a fishy time. Fishery is right here on time. 7 minutes late, that's right here on time. How are we doing? That's a mic check one time. What are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? We doing good? We feeling good? Looking good, Lewis? Feeling good, Lewis? Anybody know the movie I'm speaking of? So how are we doing? 10 blueberry snails coming tomorrow, Fish Dad. Right on. I love the blueberry snails. They are an underrated snail. I mean, some people were selling them for $40 a pop, and that was overrated. But I think they're at least a, $10 to $15 snail all day long, if not maybe more. Very lovely little snail. Propagates at a reasonable pace. Now, as you know, this channel will kind of trickle in folks at a pace of whatever the heckity doodah day the algorithm decides to alert folks as y'all click that thumbs up, click that like button. Right now, it looks like we got about 22 folks in here, but I just feel like I gotta get and no, it is not true that pufferfish only live 6 months. Some pea puffers only live like 2 or 3 years. And there are two small pea puffers that are kind of interchangeably thought of as pea puffers. One is the Malabar puffer, and the other is the dwarf Indian pea puffer, which is very similar looking, but it has more spots that are of a brown and tan kind of tone, brown, tan, and yellow. Not so much that kind of green with the like nice orange rosette on it. I talk about it in the species breakdown of those fish because they do end up in the aquarium hobby frequently. Mick, good to see you. Cosman, Jeff Kane, is always good to see you. Gachels, Roy Baker, Cave of Wonders, Xi Jinping, Pooh Bear, so good to see you. Let's see here. Nancy B from Tennessee and all the who else is in here? Who else is hiding? Ryan, Dagmar, what's going on? Thank you for the email, by the way. Johnny Best, good to see you, brother. Who else has wandered into the stream? Running Water, what's up? Good to see you. So, all right, we'll see who meanders in as we are getting going here. But today, loosely, we can just hang out. We can just talk. We can do whatever we want. This is our little playpen of fun here in the shallow end of the gene pool. And, we get to decide what we want to talk about, what we want to do. If we want to talk about the weather, if we want to talk about traffic, if we want to talk about Justin Swift and Taylor Bieber, we can do those things. So, hello, Jason, welcome, and Johnny, wow, gifting 5 Fishery memberships. Let's elevate that. That is a very, very kind, very generous gift of education and knowledge. Now, I can't, reach everybody in the world, unfortunately. As much as I would love to just put a little piece of info in everybody's brain that they have to walk around with and be like, no, that Alex got that shrimp in my brain. I can't do that. So I instead will have to settle for the true believers that open up the doorway to the secret episodes, the podcast episode, extra episodes, over 200 and some episodes, a few extra streams, and a lot of posts and random things like that. And yeah, Coro, what's going on? Good to see you. Yes, we got the Dr. Pepper original cooking up, doing its things. So I have some news as I see Coro sharing very useful codes. If you ever want to go to Moonlight Aquatics, you can get 10% off everything. Aquatic Arts, you can get 15% off everything, and that's on top of the green sale price as well. Pretty incredible deal. I've got, heirloom worked in with them. I don't think there'll ever be a better deal. And in fact, I fear that deal may someday change. So I definitely recommend right now. Companies are feeling a pinch, and I'm not talking about any one company. I'm literally talking about like Aquarium Co-op. I'm talking about Fritz and Zoomed. I'm talking about like big companies are saying like, wow, sales were continuing for a while, and we thought, oh, it won't matter what is going on the last few months. But now that things have kind of, shaken out, and also in the case of a lot of hardware, tariffs have now actually started to matter and be applied. There's not the back stock left anymore. And so we're starting to see people, including like right now, I just was at the store, and I was like at the Aquarium Co-op flagship store, and I'm like, oh, what happened to the, just a little snail catcher and the little, the light bars? Usually there's stacks and stacks and stacks of them. And they're like, yeah, we couldn't really, nail down how many to bring in. Like, and then also, I talked to somebody else who was like, they added 30%, which was the standard to the Vietnamese fish orders. And before, they hadn't really been collecting it, and people kind of been looking the other way. And now it's becoming more official and all of that jazz. Hello, Cosman, and hello to Jason, or Redfish Bluefish, and my good buddy, who, speak of the devil, you'd have to ask him, but there's a lot of business. I was just saying, small independent fish business that's hurting, shrimp business too. But definitely take advantage of those independent folks who have good stock right now, because I could foresee lean times if they're not supported through the normal like rebound of like when the summer ends and tubs kind of end and people kind of go back to watching football indoors, and baseball season ends and all this kids sports and stuff kind of calm down, in the sense of that they're now not all day long summer camps and things. Kids aren't out of school, and universities are back in, all this sort of thing. Daycares, all the normal structure of life for the American or Western family has kind of kicked into full gear. And, this is the on season, and we were just in kind of the off season for the hobby. So this is usually the best time now through kind of November, the end of November, and Black Friday is really the marker of like when you're going to get your best selection of fish. When fish stores really bring in their top-notch options, if they have, whatever they have access to that's good, they're going to bank on bringing it in now. And so I don't know if that's 100% true for all stores, or, if Jason feels that, but I definitely know from looking at the selection of a lot of different stores and going to redfishbluefish.shop, his website, he's got some cool stuff there, and he's doing it. He's a very independent, small local fish store in Washington, but he ships across the country. And I would check it. I would check his stuff out. I definitely would. He's had some neat stuff that people just seem to be sleeping on. Maybe the search engines are sleeping on it. I don't know. But in days past, others would have snapped that stuff up in a hurry. And that's true also of like Moonlight Aquatics. You know, I've seen that also at like Imperial. And yeah, he's saying right now, for sure the fish we get in colder months are better, but chili rasboras disappear. I know, yes, we do have the whole flip of the seasons down in the southern hemisphere kind of being the other way around. Which throws some things off because some fish are collected in the wet season, some are collected in the dry season. Most are collected in the dry season when the fish are together, or maybe in the wet season, but right as it's starting before it's flooded out of control and the whole forest is flooded. So that's just logically, there's no other way to do it. Like if you can have to walk around puddles and rice fields with a net and just scoop up with like a pool skimmer dozens and dozens of gouramis, bettas, snakeheads, you know, you name it, eels, things like that, little danios, little cyprinids. Do you want to do that, or do you want to wait until everybody's in their huts along the Irrawaddy River or, you know, the Mekong River, and what was once a stilted building 16 feet off the ground or whatever is now water level and has a dock going up to it? So no hope of catching the fish once the water has spread like that. And that's how they end up so many kooky, crazy, wild and wonderful places, and how they get separated. And sometimes even, you know, a big mudslide or rainstorm or something will separate those fish or shrimp or whatever that may be animal wise into an entire new river valley, or a mudslide or an earthquake or something will close off a river valley. And in a lot of Southeast Asia, with the volcanic activity, you know, Indonesia, Malaysia, that actually happens. It's quite interesting to see. Let's see here. Gatel is saying on here, Alex, are you still coming to St. Louis in October? I'm planning on taking off work so I can come hear you speak. So I wasn't gonna bring this up. I mean, I needed to bring it up, and I was gonna make a standalone video so I could just do that. But then I realized I don't need to make the standalone video because word's gonna get out to the club, I think, on its own. And no, unfortunately, in one of what has been the hardest decisions in my adult life, which sounds melodramatic, but I'm serious. I've had to cancel yet another trip to St. Louis. And this means that I went to Florida 2 years ago in September. I was supposed to speak to 4 clubs. I only spoke to 1 that trip. Luckily, I'd spoken to 2 of the other clubs previously, but still, I had to cancel 3 clubs on short notice because I ended up in the hospital. We didn't know what exactly was going on for sure. And it turns out that it was all linked with autoimmune, also with just a whole number of issues that unfortunately are linked. And I was down there both to talk to clubs and to get my teeth fixed from my injury where I lost all my teeth. So right now I've got the lower teeth, still don't have the upper teeth. So I still haven't even made it back to Florida, even for the medical work. And St. Louis was going to be my first like plane trip other than last year's only trip I made, which was to Sacramento with my wife. And I was able to meet Ivan Mikolji there and speak there. And that was my one traveling trip. And I was in very rough shape, to the tune of when I came back, I ended up within a month in the hospital fighting for my life. So I was supposed to go to St. Louis. I had a standing invitation, which was incredibly kind. The Maasai Club, the St. Louis Aquarium, the Missouri and St. Louis Aquarium Fish Keeping Society is incredibly kind, incredibly organized, incredibly generous with their per diem and like flying speakers out and making it worth their while. And honestly, one of the best clubs there is. And I was so excited to come collecting for like, I was hoping to make a whole week of it and to see so many of y'all out there in kind of the inner South or the Midwest, the lower Midwest, whatever you want to call, the region there. But I checked and checked and checked, and I didn't want to put them out again. And I got the okay from my doctors and everything that I was good to go. I was good to fly. I didn't have to worry about the blood clots or anything. And they thought the risk of infection was mostly, I was out of there, out of the danger zone. And just the other day, when they cut off the hard cast that I had, which was supposed to be my last series of hard casts. Right now, I wish I could have you guys come and sign my casts. I've got 2 wraps. I've got a soft cast and a hard cast. I can't. Stupid. Hold on. I've got my silly background on real quick here. But it's I wanted to go so badly. I had my dad. I said, Dad, can you come with me? And will you come with me? And so I can go on this trip and go to St. Louis. And my dad was going to. And now my dad needs 2 knee replacements, literally a double knee replacement. My dad's 72, so he's not too spry of a spring chicken anymore. He's still in great shape and a great guy, but he was going to come. My wife has to work for a week that week by month, decided a year ago. And we thought that we'd have the wheelchair and we'd be limited, but that we'd still be coming and that we could not necessarily go collecting and things, but that I would just simply be limited by having this big old boot and hard brace, and then this softer brace and boot and all that jazz. And I still had the wound on the bottom of the foot. And granted, I know I don't want to spend a ton of time on all of this, but it is important to let you guys know that I won't be coming and that it kept me up. We ended up in the ER. I ended up on a whole mess of new antibiotics again. Basically, everything they try just doesn't work out right. They're used to working with people who are diabetics, and I am not a diabetic. They're used to working with people with no blood flow. I'm somebody who has complete blood flow to the wound, and that's actually causing like re-injury when it's on the bottom of your foot, whereas they're used to people who just have like bad circulation, and they essentially, with diabetes and things, they tend to remove things or cauterize or whatnot. Unfortunately, they don't want to, fortunately, or whatever, however you want to look at it, it's both great that I don't have diabetes. I'm not pre-diabetic or anything like that. And they're monitoring closely, but years of being on immunosuppressant medications and not being able to have insurance that pays for the kind that is expensive that you use like once every week or once every 2 weeks or monthly. Those are somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 per injection by like what looks like an EpiPen. what looks like an epinephrine pen. And you put it in your leg and it clicks and pokes you with the needle, and then it puts it in intermuscularly. That's how most of them work. Well, they just keep giving me prednisone because it costs about 2 cents to 3 cents a pill daily instead. And they say that the pain and the fact that I now can no longer drive or walk for the last few months. I can walk a number of feet. I can't even walk to the back of the store. I'm not supposed to put weight on the right leg. And because of the nature of the medication I'm on, it has eaten away at the bone density in my right leg, as well as I mentioned, a while back that I had stress fractures from standing on it funky, and then from using crutches, and then switching from crutch. So you guys know it's been a big ordeal. But suffice to say, having to cancel it again after we made all these special allowances where I was going to be staying with a doctor in St. Louis, literally. I know so many of you had wrote me and said, like, I'm so excited you're coming. Like, thank you. I'd love to meet up, or even like there's a couple people who are like, I'll bring some eggs or some fry that I want you to, have. Can you bring some cuttings of plants and things? And I haven't gotten to travel or go on vacation or anything in 2 years. And so, a year, well, I got to go to Sacramento, I should say. That was lovely. But I haven't got to do anything either. And, my wife was just in the Outer Banks. She's been camping and rafting, and I want her to do those things. But it's been hard being at home. And you think, like, Alex, you're a nerd. You could be home and you could be working on anything. You're surrounded by like projects. You've got tissue cultures growing in sandwich bags on your counter. Like, what are you doing? You're always doing some kooky thing, around with plants and aquariums and, stuff. And you'd think I'd have time to sit and write a book or do something very, very regal and useful with my time. But every day is a battle. Every day is like, do I feel okay? Do I get to this point where I am so drained? And, let me be real with you guys. On YouTube, I have had to shine it on. And I know most of you are like here for, especially with the live streams, you're here for the vibe. You're here for whatever we talk about, whatever we chat about. And I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate your support and kindness. And everyone always has an outpouring that blows my mind of kindness. And I feel so incredibly fortunate for this community and just like my life and everything. But it doesn't change the fact that then I end up for 2 to 3 hours a day arguing with insurance, arguing with the drug manufacturers, arguing with the company that makes the good RX rebates and has the coupon warranty process, and the fact that they say, oh yeah, we'll take it, we'll reimburse you, and then they don't. Or, these things that just come up when you have 9 doctors that are specialists. And I have right now an average of 4 doctor's appointments a week, including 2 where they have to make an all new cast and redo an entire hard cast right now because they have to treat that wound too because of the autoimmune thing. Basically, they have new specialists. I'm happy to report that. I wasn't going to get into this, but I'm going to, just since I have already. But we got a specialist from the University of Washington who is a pathologist and communicable disease doctor. Also, she's a vascular surgeon and has like diabetic and neuropathy and other kind of focuses within her surgical purview. Very, very skilled and intelligent woman. And she's the chair of the board of basically all the wound care and after surgical care for University of Washington, which is a massive medical center, and also includes our county hospital, also includes, dozens of hospitals and clinics in the Seattle area when you look at it all together. She's my personal doctor now. And I can't say how grateful I am that happened, but she looked at the case when she heard, like, there's this guy and he's been actually not making progress. He's actually now, the wound in his foot is getting deeper. And we've tried the same thing basically 3 times. They have step A, step B, step C. And they basically did step A, then they tried B, then they tried C. That didn't work. Okay, well, let's go back to A, B, C. Insurance wants you to do that for 6 months, oftentimes, with each section. For instance, I could not get an MRI of the soft tissue in the wound and in my leg to know if the bone had degraded enough that my tendons and my hamstrings and like all the way up my leg, all the way up my thigh, if everything was still the fascia, the nerves, my greater saphenous vein, my greater saphenous nerve, and my sciatic nerve root, wanting to know if like that was even still where it should be, like in its little groove and its little spot, because of edema, the swelling, because of the fact that my tattoos have all rejected and all my ink has pushed out, all the color ink has blistered out, and now the black line ink is erased and also peeling. And we've got those people there, and they've literally taken the case now and they've said, you were not being properly cared for. We're going to take care of this. And I'm hoping, and I don't usually use this word lightly, like praying, because to me, praying is something intensely personal, and I never ask for anything in a prayer. I only focus my energy on somebody who is needing healing or love or comfort or a change or a realization or something. And I simply put my energy into the universe for whatever it's worth, to whatever God is out there, for 15, 20, 30, however many minutes, 10 minutes before bed. I mean, whatever I can do. But I literally have found myself praying over this situation and just hoping that I can resolve what's going on because of what it puts my wife through. The fact that we weren't able to have kids after my injury, and that changed her whole worldview. The fact that, we had these plans and everything changes, and that's life. But the fact that the channel has slowly been going lower and lower and lower in its exposure and views for now 2 years, that the pay has also, and I don't know what to do other than to keep on keeping on. I don't know what to do other than to keep working on these things and coming to the table. And the thing that makes me feel the worst, though, is when I can't come to the table. And I just hope nobody thinks that it's out of a laziness or a disinterest, because I sincerely love you guys. I love this hobby. I love being in connection and in a relationship daily with different aspects of nature and the complexities of the universe, whether that's knowledge or learning, and our own brain and our own meditative process when we feel calm and nourished by natural spaces and things like water and plants and animals. And I it kind of leaves me speechless on what to do. Because I couldn't be more grateful for what goes on here. And all I wish is maybe that I still was in a phase where I wasn't wanting to edit so heavily and maybe could just get you guys more information. But now I find myself thinking these thoughts that are like, Alex, what you can provide the viewers is a window into the new science, the new discoveries in the hobby, and the old stories of how everything links back up. Like, why did this fish we used to think it belonged to this group, and then it turns out it belongs to this group, and that's because it has little teeth in its throat, and the little teeth in its throat happen to be the way we design armor, or, you know, a cheese grater, or, you know, who knows what sort of crazy connections in this world. And we'd use that, you know, engineering and biomimicry and industrial design. And because of that, now we're making body armor. And now that body armor is being used in a war zone where those fish are in the creeks that are being muddied, and in the creeks, like in Myanmar, that gold is being ripped out of, and the mountaintops where it's being stripped all the way down so that there is no mountain. They're literally removing mountains in parts of the world. And there's arsenic and cyanide and mercury left behind, and a very few get rich and buy weapons and fuel this ongoing thing. Yet, ironically, in some cases, like we looked at with Myanmar, this may be the only way that some of those peripheral territories of places like Myanmar, like for instance, the islands off the coast of Myanmar, there may very well have been condos, resorts, development all across that area. But because of the instability in the country, because of the civil war, which we wouldn't wish on anybody, but because of that, the truth remains that those areas have not been destroyed. They've not been developed. They're the same as they were 1,000 years ago in a lot of cases. The same with a lot of South American jungles, even African jungles, and Indian jungles. And this is where we're finding new species, new shrimp, new plants. And now we're at a stage where we can go to these places and share the beauty and the wonder and the like hidden little magic world that exists on location, on site, in these places. And we don't have to hike out for 6 days and then, you know, get on a plane and take that for 6 hours, and then you hike for another 4 hours, or get on a bike, a dirt bike, for a day or two, and then you take another bush plane to a regional city hub, and then from there you go to, like, you know, Nairobi, and then from Nairobi you go to London or Amsterdam or Dubai, wherever, and then from there you go to your main country of origin, back to the US or Europe or whatever. And then from there you go home. Like, I mean, before it used to be such a process getting these things home. And now somebody in a developing nation can take a $15 or $20 phone and literally just go and put it online. And that's incredible. And that, like, opens up a world. It opens up the world to us. And so it's things about that that makes me feel so fortunate and lucky. Like, am I bored that I can't leave my house right now, that it's been a year since I've gone out for, you know, a guy's night or a girl's night, anybody night? My wife and I barely go out for any food or anything, and, you know, and yet I am never bored, and I will never allow myself to be bored ever in this world, because there's always something new to discover, whether it's looking at a texture on, you know, things that you purchased, whether it's looking at something in nature, whether it's thinking about the way we think, or observing things, there is always something interesting or beautiful to observe. I mean, most of the time, if I told you right now, stop what you're doing and look right at the screen and tell me what colors are on your socks. I mean, it's great if you know that they're black versus white, but like, what color is the threading? Don't look. What color is the threading? How many colors are on that sock? Most people don't know. And what does that matter? What am I trying to say? Not trying to make any point other than there's simply so much information in the universe and so much information that doesn't matter to us until it is pertinent for some reason, that we can't store it. We can't even perceive it. And we have the gift from evolution, from science, from God, from however you want to look at it, doesn't matter. You know, you want to say Yahweh, you want to say Buddha, you want to say, well, that would be weird. I mean, nobody would. Anyways, you want to say a creator, you want to say mathematical improbability, but we are here and we are experiencing these things and sharing, and we are able to share our experience with these things. And yes, being locked down with no stimuli in like a room with nothing in it or in the dark or whatever will literally make humans go crazy and or no longer live. That has been known to happen. So it is a powerful thing to simply sense the things around you. And when you are interfacing with a hobby that you love or an animal that you love or the ecosystem, the level of complexity, the level of possible things that you may learn that you had no idea you could be about to experience, learn, witness, or view, it's truly endless. So yeah. All right, guys. And Andrea Dingbat, good to see you. Carson Muffin, also good to see you. Sorry, guys. I know I abandoned the chat for a little while there. Mike, what's up? Good to see you. And Dagmar, good to see you always. Yeah. Bear Bottom Branton, what is going on, my friend, my fellow fish card, fishy man, illuminated manuscript, illuminated manuscript card man. What's going on? Yeah, I do like the Fish Punk series that Kyle has made. Very cool. Mary Kay, hello. Hope you are doing well. A Pepper, also good to see you. JP Jeffries, hello and good to see you. And Amy, good to see you. Also, George, obviously, always great to see you. And we had a super chat, which I didn't shout out. I saw it and I thought in my head, holy cannoli oil. Boy, is cannoli oil or canola. There's no such thing as cannoli oil. Well, there might be some oil dripping from like a real cheesy cannoli or a ziti, big ziti. But no, that's not what we use in cooking. Canola oil. Cannoli oil. Anyways, yeah. Thank you. Very much appreciate your holy cannoli oil. Goodness. Claire, welcome. Come on in. The water is and 3G, come on in. The water is fine. It's we might need a little more minerality, but that shouldn't impact us tonight, you know. I think we'll be all right. Unless any of you are molting this evening, I think we'll be okay for now with our KH of about 4 or 5 degrees in German units, which would mean our general hardness is probably like 6 or 8, somewhere in there. Who knows? Let's see here. Johnny says, Alex, is it weird that what we think the mind and taught is a power thing? Wait, Alex, it is weird how we are of what we think the mind and taught is a power thing we have. Yeah, it is. We're not taught the power, the power that we have over our reality. You know, when you look at optical illusions, when you look at things, a lot of what you see around you, you're filling in. Almost 90% of your visual information on your optic, not your optic nerve, but in your brain, where your optical imagery and all that is being recreated and analyzed by your brain. You are assuming that because 10% of the things in your sight line have stayed the same, or they've changed this way or that way, you know, because the horizon line looks like this and things are smaller over here and bigger over here, and that's getting bigger and smaller, and we have learned these things are like, well, then it follows that that thing is coming closer. This is how optical illusions can trick us. But your brain does not have the energy or time or you know, resources to think about every single hundredth of a second and check to make sure that that's all accurate. And so you don't know what has gone on around you oftentimes. And even if it's a crucial moment where your adrenaline's pumping and you're like, wow, that was like a life flashing before my eyes type moment where I really had elevated perception, you are not taking that in until your body's like, hey, pay attention, like make sure that this is true, that that's really there. And that's just visual. Then there's like sensory. There's also how you are going to react. You know, it's very interesting though that all of these things then cross into how they're processed, and we see them as these divided things. So for us, smell and sight are two very separate things. Can we smell in a room and tell where a problem is coming from if we think there's a fire, for instance? Let's say something without visual cues. Sure, actually, let's say there's a gas pipe in a wall, like a boiler pipe. It's hot, 300 degrees Celsius. It's just burning up hot. Boiler room, steam engine, you know, overheating, and it's in the wall, and your wall is just glowing radiant energy. But visually, nothing's happening. Maybe there's some waves, like, you know, desert mirage. But the wall's not burnt down yet or anything. Would it? 300. Okay, let's say 200 Celsius, whatever. And you could sense it, and you could make a mental map of kind of assuming in the room, oh, it's getting hotter by where you feel it on your skin, your face, you know, that kind of thing. Or if it was a smell like a candle that has, I don't know, vanilla smell, you can maybe close your eyes blindfolded and you could track down, oh, getting closer, getting more intense on the smell. But we don't see that in our visual cortex as a density, right? You don't see like a pink glow from the vanilla, and the more vanilla that's in the room, and like, oh, some stuck up along the crack along the top of the ceiling, and so there's a thicker pink line of the vanilla density of the air. No, you don't see that. Yet, like fish, they see with their whiskers and with their lateral line, and in their brain, we're learning that they actually do have these crossovers that map. So one person's hallucination, or one person's assumption of reality, or one creature or species assumption of reality, something that we can't actually see, you can't actually see the vanilla smell, maybe a visible sight that has evolved in another creature. Just like some birds and fish can see ultraviolet light, yet we can't see that. And that's an example of just a limitation within our visual hardware. Then there's our software or our brain, which is the problem with mapping. And so to me, I love sitting and watching our creatures and our aquariums and seeing how those things interface and sense different things. You know, they found that zebra danios, can move within a 1/10 of a degree Fahrenheit to their optimal ovulation temperature. So the female knows when she is most likely to have either a male or a female egg. There's a different temperature for each, but she can tell within a 1/10 of a degree Fahrenheit in the water by swimming around, and she will go there and wait to interact with the male there. Because of that, at that spot, that's how specifically they can tell. Now, can we tell something like that? No. I mean, we can't tell that accurate. We could probably tell 5 degrees, maybe even 3 or 4. But yeah. So I just wanted to also, I just got my phone just went, and Marty Logan, you know what? Thank you so much, so kindly. Somebody just sent me a $20 super chat through my PayPal, and that info is linked in the description. But that means, I mean, that's the equivalent of basically a $35 super chat when you do that. And he's not getting or actually, I don't know, you know, nobody's getting a shout out when they do that on my PayPal. And I really wish that I could hook that up to the channel so that it would say, like, thank you very kindly. Because it doesn't matter if it's that or if it's $5 or if it's you coming here and hanging out with us and chatting and just being a part of this community and adding to this little marketplace of ideas that we have here. All of that is worth so much to me, and I'm so grateful for it. And thank you. So, but you know, cash is king. Marty, thank you. Appreciate it. Are yellow shrimp the hardest to keep, and is well water okay for them? So, Jerry, well water is anything. You could drill into a boot that was under a desk. You're in the top of the Empire State Building and you drill down 900 feet. You could end up in somebody's wet boot full of water. By dumb luck, it was raining out. There were shoes filled with water. You only get a couple ounces. You could go down into the water table. You could go down into the rivers table. You could maybe go down into salt water. You know, so it really depends on. It's a smart ass answer, but it really depends on where you're at, what your well or your water table contains. There are a lot of wells and water tables that are very hard because of limestone, or what we call karst, K-A-R-S-T, minerality, and basically ancient coral reefs and ancient bones and plankton and microorganisms that died, and their little exoskeletons and their little actual skeletons in some cases all piled up in a dense layer that became limestone or you know, different types of stone, calcite, different things like that, chert. And it could be alkaline. It could be anywhere all the way up to like maybe 9.2 or 9.3, and maybe it's 2,000 parts per million. If it had salt, it could be like 5,000 parts per million. It could be worse than a salt water from the ocean. I'm going to stand here just for a sec, just lean because of just pain. But, you know, the average well is going to be probably near neutral. But don't, you know, assume that for a bunch of organisms, you know. But for the sake of, if you had to take a random guess, yes, I would say that a well. Hi, baby. And hi, wifey. Did I feed you dinner? I don't know if they fed you dinner. Did I feed you dinner?
You don't remember?
No, I didn't feed her dinner. She's been really good. She hasn't been begging. She just, yeah. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, you could have also you could have water that has, you know, you drilled down and your water table is in an aquifer and there's a bunch of ancient wood soaking in there that's 200 years old, and it's just piles of wood debris, or a mine collapsed, or there was a sinkhole and all the rotten leaves and debris from years of a cave were in there, and you got all this tannic water, this black water. Theoretically, you could have super acidic water. You could have like 5.0, you know, with nothing in it hardly, no KH, no GH. But most people are probably going to have somewhere around neutral, maybe somewhere between 6.8 to 8.2. That's kind of the guess, and usually under 700 or 800 as the top end of the parts per million hardness of carbonate and calcium and that stuff. Let's see here. So I also saw another question here. So many people here, a lovely community. Yes, indeed, Andrea. I agree. Check your well water for water softeners. Yeah, so there are, that's another thing, is a lot of people do put other things in their RO units or in their setup. So just because you're at a friend's house or you get a new house and they're like, oh, it's well water, you definitely want to make sure that you understand the system that they have in place to bring that water up, and that if there is some sort of buffering, filtration, if there's an RO unit, is there, you know, there's the remineralization or a softening or hardening, even for that matter, I guess, aspect to that. Are they adding, you know, fluoride? I would doubt that, but you know, in theory, it could happen. Now, PayPal is best tax wise, just because I use them the most for actual work with our nonprofit and stuff, and they have a better relationship than Venmo with the IRS. Like, they have an easy plugin where literally I can upload my Outlook Excel sheet from them, and I can say these all came from, you know, well, nothing on there is anything other than fish related, either the channel or the nonprofit. And so it's easy to then kind of differentiate between the two and tag them out and have the two separate lists as I go. So I would say, if you want, you can use the easiest way to send the money without YouTube getting a 40% cut right off the top for doing nothing. Yeah, it's to send it PayPal, but Venmo's on there just as another option. And again, nobody should feel obligated. I'm just answering a question I saw in the chat just now. Also, JP Jeffrey says, Alex, what do you think of Kevin Novak's take on the plenums and anoxic bacteria formation? Wonder what he has his PhD in. He doesn't have a PhD. So he claims he has a degree in limnology, which is the study of water in freshwater lake systems. And I could get sued for this right now. He has sued several people over this for slander. He's also lost those cases. And I would refer, allegedly, the way those turned out has all shown that he could not produce information as to where he got a PhD, although it appears he maybe got a civil engineering degree or something to that effect, maybe. Maybe systems administration for city work or something along those lines may have been the program for an undergrad degree in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe is what it was. Other than that, he has some chemistry, a little bit of chemistry background, and he tells the same stories over and over. Now, does that mean he's wrong? Does that mean he's a bad guy? Well, it means he's lying, which is weird. Like, I don't know. Maybe he feels like he couldn't get a word in edgewise on the conversation, but I just don't like that right off the bat. And he tries to out-credential people, throw his credentials out, say, oh, this one time a Stanford or a Harvard chemist came over and said, that's incredible. I can't believe you thought of this. And he tells this story. He tells the same story over and over. I don't know why he needs to do all that. There is good science that says plenums work. Anoxic filtration, anoxic nitrifying, denitrifying. It happens. It's a thing. It is true. Does it happen in our aquarium? Predictably, will it take the reins and weather the storm of everything you do to your aquarium as far as how much input there is? And will it work fast enough to cycle the aquarium and to then process it? My opinion on all that is maybe. I don't know. It appears that Lucas Bretz and his method of literally just letting dirt and algae and a few plants, he has let tanks with just scoops of dirt, rocks, anything with surface area, just kind of algae up and biofilm up. And as long as you don't overload that tank, as long as there's a little bit of algae, there's some little bit of plankton, a little bit of microorganism going on, and there's bacteria, there's archaea, there's all sorts of stuff under the microscope. I've done videos where we look and you can see even when you don't add new fish and species to tanks, the first 3 years, diversity just goes up like exponentially. Be it that the plants had organisms in it, be it that the only fish you did put in had gut bacteria or had little, nematodes or worms or something inside of their stomach, be it harmless, be it a parasite, whatever. There is just life. And whether it's tardigrades and water bears, the little tiny guys that are less than a millimeter, and they moss piglets, as they're also known, you see them under the microscope, or stenters or ostracods, which are seed shrimp. You'll see there's little white dots and there's little black dots and brown dots. If you set up an aquarium and have no fish in it, even just you put dirt, plants, like a few plants, some dirt or some aqua soil or whatever, a few rocks, within a few months, you're going to see at the bottom, whether it's algae, whether it's bacteria, whether it's just like slimy scum that has like a slippery texture, there are going to be dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of different species. If you were to test that water and truly look at the full spectrum of the DNA of every organism that's in there that has little pieces of DNA that break off and float around, that's what eDNA is. And we can do that in rivers, and then we can tell all the species that are prominent there. Well, we can do the same thing. And there's so much that exists just as the ambient background bacteria or noise of life and organisms that we kind of have to use that as a starting ground and then be like, okay, well, this is everywhere and it's a little different everywhere. So we kind of have to give a margin of error of like 40% of all of the DNA is going to be like, I don't know what that is, but it's something simple, early, eukaryotic, whatever it may be. That's that. What was I talking? Oh, so the fact that there's bacteria that nitrify and things like that, we have known that since the Germans did work and the Czechs did work in the 1920s and 30s. They did a lot of work on doing waste treatment facilities in large cities. And what they did was they would have foaming vats, frothing vats. They'd have plenums. They'd also have aerators. They tried all sorts of different things. They have, methane off gassers. They had fermenters. They had secondary fermenters and tertiary digesters. And, they have really tried a lot of different things. And it has been done for over 100 years. So, yes, he does quote real science, Dr. Novak, as he calls himself. I will just call him Kevin Novak, as allegedly he is no doctor. And we actually had, so I know 4 limnology professors that give out PhDs in this country for limnology. Now, we think there's around 18 schools that even allow a program of studying freshwater lakes in a 6-year degree format, right? That's intense. And no one had heard of the guy other than aquarist people who haven't heard of where he went to school or anything, nor would he supply any information when pressed on it. So kind of interesting, but I can change the subject on that now. I just wanted to say that it is very odd, and he used to be a very contentious guy. And, he used to have, kits. You could buy BCB kits and ebooks. I think he still has them. I think maybe now they're free. But he also has interests in like koi pond patents and trademarks and things that he was hoping he'd be able to sell. One, all of this was already well known by all these companies. People like Seachem knew about it and had already been like, yeah, that's true, but like, who wants to deal with that, right? And so it's true that, like, if you watch my videos, I have lots of videos on how a filterless tank works in anoxic filtration is what you want to look up. There are systems in your aquarium that you can build where there is a layer with no oxygen once you have a deep enough substrate, and where the ammonia in your aquarium can either be stored and basically inertly stored, so stored as a safe byproduct, or it can be combined as a gas and literally evaporate up out of your water and up out of your tank and disappear, depending on the bacteria present. Or it can be turned into nitrite, nitrate, or actual like nitrogen that then bonds with another compound. And all of these things happen, but to what degree is that really what's going to power the engine? Is that 10% of the filtration and it's just kind of a funky thing, a quirky thing that, yes, we can actually make a layer that is really rich in ammonia after 5 years of keeping a fish tank and feeding your fish? The fish poop will settle. It will condense. And in an undisturbed, dense, deep substrate, you will have the ammonia in the water turn to nitrite, then turn to nitrate, and then it will turn in there. The nitrate is pretty harmless, and fish don't mind it. It can get up to 100 parts per million, maybe 200 parts per million, and not kill any fish, that's for sure. They have also seen, though, and this is where people like Father Fish and I have some disagreements, nitrates and nitrites, while they are not necessarily as poisonous as ammonia, nitrates, even, we can have, up to 700-800 parts per million, and like a guppy or a Daniel may survive that. You also have a lot of recent work that shows birth defects, strange behavior, fertility, size, neurological things, and birth defects all skyrocket with that. And as low as 10 parts per million nitrogen in the form of nitrate, the safe one so-called, impacts, for instance, salmon eggs and the development of their eyes. Now we're also finding that guppies, that their orange spot on the males is linked to the formation of their immune system, their neurological system, and part of their basically their brain, but also their brain stem and their spinal column and the nerves that branch off, and its ability to later recall virus and appropriately attack said virus or bacteria or whatever in a way that like an immune system should, has to do scalably. Like it is correlated in a predictable way. The more orange that's on the body, the less of that was used in their immune system and in the brain. So they make a trade-off. And there have been selectively bred groups, though, where they've selected for more of both, and they can raise it up higher. It's something that's kind of interesting, but it's why the females look for the way the guppy or Endler dances and flitters around and its tail shows. The reason why so many of those wild or feral species, like if you have 20 guppies in a tank and they all look different, there's a good chance you're going to end up with a bunch of guppies that have orange, pink, red, peach, yellow spot on their side, maybe a couple spots, maybe a dark spot within that spot, and then some lines and swirls around that. But that is going to be the standard trait that you see in the wild as well, that they devolve back into. Just like rabbits or pigs, within a few generations, pigs start getting their tusks back and they start looking like crazy wild boars, even though they're, 1,000 years, 2,000 years of being bred in captivity to be a fat, juicy, delicious bacon on four legs. Fish Dreams, what's up? So, yeah, we'll do a microscope video again soon. Let's see here. I'm just catching up with chat, guys, and I just put a Sour Patch Kid in my mouth because my mouth felt dry. Him Flip, what's going on? You're a valedictorian doctor from Harvard and Yale. Right on. Are you him flip as in him Filipino? Or do you just like to do flips? Or what's up? Hey, Alex. Hey, Barbara Jackson. Good to see you. And South Bay Sapphire. Good to see you as well. Amy, hello. All right. So originally today, guys, I said, hey, let's look at new shrimp. But I twittered away. I squandered our time. And, it is, it's been over an hour and I still didn't get to the shrimp, right? So I'll have to change the title of this to Alex Waffles On About Nothing. But if I didn't tell you anything, I told you this at least. Go and support your local fish shop, your local breeders, your local independent, whoever, small business, whoever. They're hurting now. Even the big business may start hurting. They have places to get funding and to get support and to weather storms that the guy down the street with a local fish shop will not have. And this year is looking to be kind of rough for those shops. Now, is there also money to be made back with power to the people, just like during the lockdowns and things, when prices get so ridiculous or supply is cut off, the home breeders will be looked to, and people will be like, when are you going to learn to breed neon tetras, man? They're going for $10 a piece. Get on that. So I recommend also keeping, keeping up with that. Also, I'm sorry, Robert. I know you're really disappointed in St. Louis and the fact that I can't make it. Nobody is more disappointed than I am. This was the high point of my year. This was the momentum that I felt that this channel, that's a very respectable club. Just like, say the Chicago club, Seattle club, New York club, there's a number of clubs, Sacramento. You can shout out the Ohio Cichlid Association, things like this, Columbus Fish Club, Cleveland. And to get asked and invited to speak at those clubs, 2 years ago, I had 19 invitations. Outstanding. I had somewhere to be every month, and I was going to show you native fish. I was going to show you museums. I was going to show you universities. I had professors lined up, backstage access to so many cool things. And my world quite literally fell apart. It started in Florida, and it started with kind of a mystery. And the rebound that I thought was me coming back out of it caused me to cancel most of those 19. But Ivan Mikolji and I, we kept going with our reintroducing the diamond tetra, and we're still working on that project. It is happening on the ground today, right now. As we speak, I spoke with him this morning for at least an hour. And we have a bit of a broader mission scope now that is involving more officials to actually rehabilitate this entire lake to a place where more endemic and indigenous fish will be able to flourish. There is the goal. But not only that, this will be a study. Now it will be done correctly. We could have done this very affordably because it's in Venezuela, because it's in basically a country that almost doesn't exist to the United States. And because of that, they've been written off and kind of hidden from the scientific community. However, they're ichthyologists. Many of them went to school, in Europe, in the US, and many of them are highly intelligent, very skilled people. And they're literally making the equivalent of 80 to 120 US dollars a month. So we've kept them on the payroll at the Green Earth Alliance with the help of you guys. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have this channel. I wouldn't be able to keep that afloat if we didn't have people like the Sacramento Aquarium Society. We just got a 130-page workup that Ivan and I will be talking about on the channel. But it's a prescriptive this, then this, then this, then this, if this, then this, if that, then that. This is the cost type breakdown. And it is a descriptive paper because there are a few species that aren't even documented quite correctly there, as well as another deep sea species of fish that's a saltwater fish that a Venezuelan ichthyologist who will be able to help us when he finishes that project. We're helping him with that project too. So we have some cool news to share with the Green Earth Alliance, and we'll do some announcements of that. And also, Ivan's also doing some stuff where he sent me a bunch of information about going to different cities all across Venezuela and looking at the guppies and their orange markings, because that's in the news of ichthyology scholarly journals and the Journal of Evolutionary Biology. But that is all something exciting that he's been documenting and filming, finding the little guppies in the gutter, in the sewer, in the drainage basins of these cities. And they're feral. They used to be pets, most of them, but some of them have been crossbred with like Picta, or maybe even some sort of like similar to Gambusia. So some of them might be hybrids, some of them might be Endler hybrids, might be guppy hybrids. Kind of interesting. I wonder if my Amanos, if you could breed Amanos, you could sell them. What I would do though is breed the colorful ones. I still would love to do a video where I could show the baby yellow and red and different color Amano shrimp. Right now, I can show juveniles and adults, but that's the only sizes we've been allowed access to through Aquatic Arts. They have them though, and they're being bred in the U.S. by a specialist, which pretty cool that Aquatic Arts has that. And we will do I'll do a video on some of the incredible shrimp that are coming out right now, because we have a whole new wave right now of shrimp, including Babaltis as well as tangerine tigers, yellow King Kongs, things like that have different color eyes than we've ever seen before. So, as you know, in the Caridina world, there's been the orange eye blue tiger for a long time. And some people know that there was a blue eye red cherry shrimp, and that there was another yellow eye red cherry shrimp. Well, now, like, there are dozens of different mashups, and these lines are getting pretty stable, and they're also surviving in like normal conditions of tanks, and it's leading to also new pattern variations as well. And I wanted to talk about some of the new things that are kind of set to hit the market in the next year. Maybe you could get some if you know somebody who knows someone right now. Maybe Garden of Eder has something, or, you know, someone like Rob over at Flip Aquatics might have, Rob and Amanda might have something personally that they're holding on to. Or Renee and Rob over at Shrimp Envy. By the way, great company. They said that the tariffs are impacting all their shrimp imports right now, though. Their food is made in America. Their shrimp foods are. So Shrimp Envy food is made and packaged and assembled in America, which makes me so happy because I can keep buying it, and that's my favorite shrimp food. But everything else, including their fish, have become hard to find. Alex, in my tanks, asked tips in caring for Tiananacara candidii. He bought a pair recently. I would say keep them in soft water. Keep them in very clean, soft water. Keep it well oxygenated. They can live in black water, but people seem to do a lot better with them in captivity. Keeping them closer to neutral, maybe on the slightly acidic side. Feeding live food is always ideal if you can give them some Daphnia, brine shrimp, vinegar eels, bloodworms here and there. Any of that stuff's great. But switching up the diet, mostly small invertebrates or insect-based diet, protein heavy, and a little bit algae, maybe 30% to 40% algae is and debris from other plants and things and biofilms. But they are a lovely fish that I have yet to spawn, and I've yet to keep them in a species only tank for more than like a week or two. And I have 3 of them right now in a tank still. And so I should do as I say. I should do it as I say, not as I have not done. But I can't give too much advice, to be frank. I did my research on them, and that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard time and time again from local friends who kept them, from successful breeders of them. But they do like spawning in very, very, very acidic water naturally. Now, does that mean you have to put them in that? No, and it may shock them. In fact, I've seen a lot of people kill their fish, shocking them when they find this sort of information out. But gradually, you can work them over into a, 6.5 or something, and that's probably a good place for them with some tannins. And even though they can live without it, I recommend the aeration as well and low nitrites. So doing some water changes if you detect any nitrites. They also like it dim. They like hunting, and snails will eat their eggs. So beware. All right, you guys. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot more to say to you tonight, because we'll try to do a standalone shrimp episode again a different time. We'll retitle it. I'm sorry. This is what happens when I kind of just spill my guts. Best way to treat an Oscar with hole in the head, just go get some General Cure or one of the there's literally an API medication for treating hole in the head. If you're not in the US, you can use a gram-positive antibiotic, which is not always the case, but sometimes that will help if there's a secondary infection. And then something like flubendazole, fenbendazole, you may have to go to a vet to get that kind of thing. Other than that, I know salt dips have helped with others, and there's also, potassium permanganate, different things like that have been used over the years. But I do not have the skill and or expertise to advise you on how to do things other than essentially the medications that are designed for that will say, for gill flukes, for hole in the head, for this, for that. And I'm sorry that I don't have that information right off the top of my head, but I'm just trying to let you know what's out there as best as I can. But I just don't want to give you incorrect information because of a lack of information. Jeff Kane, 43 months of support. Thank you, brother. That is so appreciated. And again, we'll do another live stream. I had planned to do like several live streams during while my wife was gone, but we ended up right where we started from, back in the hospital, cutting the cast off, going there, my parents spending the night. It's embarrassing when you're 40 and your parents come and spend the night to keep an eye on you because you have a fever, not a great feeling or look. Not a great, you don't feel like you're really making it in the world, right? When you've spent 20 years on your own, and then your parents in their 70s come and are taking care of you. That's one of the harder things is, I wanted to show my family in St. Louis. I wanted to show my dad, like, I know you didn't want me to go to art school. Well, I went to archaeology school, and I got a history at archaeology and anthropology degrees. And I know you didn't love that, but those were a little more acceptable. Well, then the economy crashed and I became a tattoo artist. I made way more money than I did doing any of the other stuff. And it was clear that if I'd stuck with that would have continued and been good money. But instead, I wanted to do art that spoke from the heart of what I really wanted to talk about: conservation, animals, surrealism, scientific illustrations of mycology and botany and anatomy, doing like Audubon style illustrations. And we made that work. My wife has stood by me through all of this. And then the world seemingly is coming to an end. And I'm a live streamer, which who cares what I think about this? I'm a fish live streamer. And January of when this is happening, I'm like, let's breed fish that are small, because that's what people are going to want. The hobby's going to go crazy. It's going to shut down for a short little while, and then it's going to explode. And whoever is positioned to sell plants and fish of the bread and butter persuasion, you guys can go watch the live streams from 2020 in late January through early March, before any of the lockdowns happened. I looked like a crazy person. I probably was a crazy person. I probably just dumb luck got it right. But that, and then me deciding that that meant I wasn't going back to doing murals. I wasn't going back to tattooing. And I was going to devote my life to conservation, education, and fish. And my freaking wife says, okay, even with my health problems and the doctors telling me that I should be on disability, basically on bed rest over and over. So I can't tell you how meaningful it is that you guys come and share an hour with me. Just a testament that we're still here as a community, that there's an interest in these things, that these things matter to us, that we're different people. We may have day jobs that are completely unrelated, and we may have hobbies that one person likes saltwater, one person likes freshwater, big fish versus little fish. Yet we all come together, and we're all here to say, like, yes, education, science, community, compassion, caring about our fellow creatures and the natural spaces in the world matters. And that is incredible to me. It is so powerful to me. And I mean, as thankful as I am to many of you individuals who've been here through it all, I also just want to shout out my wife one more time. She's in the other room, but it's incredible. People like Asha here, 52 months supporting the channel. I mean, holy cow. I mean, Empire of Dirt, Jeff Kane, 43 months. I know he's been here longer than that. I know he's up at, almost 4 or 5 years. I know like Kenny E is up at like 5 years, as long as I've been doing it, and it's not a competition, obviously, but I do want to tell you guys that it's not the how many months you've paid, it's how many months you've played. You've been here, you've taught me things, you've brought things up, you've guided what we're talking about. You said, you know what, I'd like to see a video on this. Alex, I have a question about that. Asking each other questions, relying on each other for support. That's half of what I wanted this to be. I trust, yes, the moderators, but I trust half of the chat that's here right now on a given night to answer questions for the rest of chat and give a damn good answer. There is a specialist in a lot of different things in our chat at any given time, even when there's not that many of us in here. Even when, yes, the community says, oh, there's 90,000 of subscribers. Well, our true community is really a few thousand of us, and it's very concentrated. And it's those of you who choose to come back even when you don't get the updates that keep it alive. And I thank you. You're clearly here. Thank you. And also, Barbara, thank you so much for the support. Just because, Alex, thank you. I appreciate it. Divide by Zero, good to see you also. Says, believe me, there is nothing insecure about having caring family members help you out. Everyone needs help. Well, hopefully we carry that here as a channel, and hopefully we can do some things for our earth and for our creatures that we keep, but also, you know, like Ivan and I and the Green Earth Alliance, that if we can get that to become something and we can save, for instance, we want to get something similar to a fair trade coffee certification for instance, bettas and gouramis and arowanas, snakeheads, all the lovely ornamental fish that come out of Southeast Asia that right now are being completely pillaged from national parks and areas that are right on the edge of mining communities and things. Borneo, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Malaysia, and mainland Southeast Asia. There's a lot of them that will be extinct soon in the wild. And I think the only way to go forward pursuing this is, unfortunately, it's to support those who are going to go collect the last few when we know that like a mine is imminent, when we know there's only one collection point on one fork of the river of this betta species. Go get them. Try to breed them at universities. Try to spread around the genetics. Keep detailed information. This is not just some like casual hobbyist thing, but we're trying to support and organize and a certified effort with accreditation and transparency, but also traceability. Places like Castle Dawn bettas, where they're breeding them, they're selling them for $100 a pair for the critically endangered bettas, and then they're making sure they have different lines of diversity, and they've actually bought land, you know, within 50 miles of the original only spot where they may have existed in the wild, and they've secretly put them back. So projects like this is the way we're going to have to think outside of the box. This is the way our money in the Western world can go so much farther than the money in the developing world. And I think it's going to be, there's going to be some tough times, but there's going to be some incredible times ahead. And I will be sharing it with you guys. That's for sure. So thank you guys for being here. Also, I am so sorry to those of you in the chat I know that are so bummed that I will not be coming on the 17th of October. I will no longer be coming to St. Louis. I will not be coming to Milwaukee either, unfortunately. I do have kind of a standing invite, which was incredibly kind of them, that someday we'll figure it out. And I really hope that, you know, that's true. And even if it's not, someday I'll come through town and we'll have a meeting. It's just us if we have to. But, you know, thank you guys for being here tonight, for the support, for your thoughts. Again, if you know of any new shrimp species that you really want to talk about or new color morphs, leave comments on this video or comment on, you know, anywhere on any of my videos, and I'll try to keep an lookout for those over the next, you know, 24, 48 hours. And then maybe I'll try to put together, if I can, especially if I can get permission to use the photos and things, a new video of some of the new color forms of like the yellow-eyed cherry shrimp that look really cool, the golden dragon shrimp, and the onyx shrimp, or the calico, the tricolor neocaradinas, things like this. Yeah. Well, guys, I am really, I'm really feeling some pain in my legs, swelling and hurting, and I need to wrap this up. I need to get back to my wife as well. But thank you for being here, and just because I want the stream to go over the hour and a half marker thing, the hour and 40-minute marker thing, so that it will archive the chat differently for me to access later if I want. I'm going to extend this a little bit with a little bit of a little song we can end the show with. And if you know it, hum it along. And we'll see if the cat comes running or if she hides under her bed when she hears me sing. This one's weird without music, but I always want to play you guys songs at the end of a stream. And tonight there's just a song that I want to hear so bad, and I'm going to butcher it for you guys so you can, know how bad I ruined it, and then go listen to it and it'll be good. So River of Deceit, Mad Season is the song I was thinking of. Thank you guys. I love you and all that you do. So here we go. My pain is self-chosen. At least so the prophet says. I could either burn my eyes or cut off my pride and buy some time. A head full of lies is the weight tied to my waist. The river of deceit flows down. The river of deceit pulls down. The only direction will flow is down, 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 down. My pain is self-chosen. At least I believe it to be. I could either drown or pull off and swim to the shore and grow a beautiful shell for all to see. The river of deceit falls down. The only direction it pulls is down, down, down. You guys are still here. Get out of here. That was bad. That was real bad. It's such a weird song without instrumentals. But anyways, gotta love some Lane Staley before he passed away. Anyways, go listen to that song. Go listen to a good version of River of Deceit by Mad Season, which was like a super band in Seattle created for the death of Andrew Wood, who was the singer of Mother Love Bone, the frontman of Mother Love Bone, who passed away far too young and was one of the starters of the grunge scene along with Mudhoney and stuff. But legends in my hometown. All right, you guys, I'm getting out of here. Apparently, I'm Italian now. Have a wonderful night. I'm out of here. Much love. I'll see you guys later. Bye.